Hi guys, in this episode we're going to be threading out our scan engine and adding some more display information and a couple of extra functions to better adapt our scan engine to more of a usable product more than just a novelty. So we're going to be adding can we open the file function, which is just simply going to check if it's going to be able to open, if we are able to open the file for scanning. We're going to check if the file's too big. We're also going to put in a setting that we can set a file limit, and we're going to add a lot of visual pieces to this to make it more user friendly and overall, more of a usable product. So we're going to start with our old from episode 4. And I know this is coming out the day after I did episode 4. It just has to be that way at the minute. I am limited on time and I'm involved in a few other projects, so it has to be balanced. I have to balance what I do with other things that I'm doing, and therefore you get 2 episodes this weekend because that's all I have to do. So whilst I've been talking to you, I've made the form bigger and I've moved the list view down. This is so we can add a few more pieces of display information in. So we don't need to name this one because we're never going to call it. And this one is going to be the current number of objects. So we're going to we're going to call it current number scanned versus the total number of files scanned. So all these things, they might seem a bit useless at this time, but we're building this up from what was essentially a simple scanner to something that's essentially not a simple scanner. We're building it more towards a work in progress, let's say. With some of my other projects that I'm involved in, especially over at ThirkTech Antivirus, we've built the whole engine from the ground up. So this is not something that's new to me by a long shot. It was easier building it on my own, as I didn't have to keep narrating it. But I found it difficult to find any information on how to build an antivirus, how to build anything close to one. So we're going to name this current count display. Now I have had an email from one of my colleagues, and I have to mention this whilst I'm doing this. None of this code is in any way similar to the code that's running in the ThirkTech Antivirus engine. I've purposely made it completely different to ensure they don't see any issues. Current object display. I shouldn't have put that there. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding a few labels, and we're renaming them so that we can find them later. Very useful. We're also going to add a progress bar because I know people love progress bars. Right, so let me just run through what I've quickly done whilst I've been chatting. So we've added a label and a active label to display the current number of items we've scanned and the total number of files overall we have to scan. That's going to annoy me. I'm going to put a space there. Right there. Right. And we've also added a current objects label and a current objects display label. This is going to allow us to display the file we're currently scanning. This is going to be useful. Obviously, everyone who's run an antivirus piece of software will know that as you hit scan, it goes through a load of things. It tells you what's going on, and this is important for the user. Right, so that is all the changes we need to do to this page. We need to come over here, and I'm going to drag this down just to make it look right. And we're going to come over to our settings page, and we're going to add a checkbox. Yep, lovely checkbox. And we're going to call this... Wait, I'm going to put a name in it first. We're going to call this use file size limit. That's what we're going to put in the caption. The bit that people see. We're going to check it because this will come in useful later on. Now that we've started doing things like hex scanning, although we're looking for a certain place in memory, if you start loading massive files into memory, it can get very RAM consuming. Use file limit checkbox. Right, so now we've named them, we're going to go straight into the code. So let me make sure everything's in place. Yes, that's all I want. Yeah, that's all I want for time being. We will be adding other little pages up here where reports and old scan reports will be stored and things like that. I haven't quite got round to doing it yet. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to set our file limit in bytes, because our scanner is going to return it to us in bytes. So we're going to call it. We're going to make ourselves a constant under our constants. We're just going to call it file size limit, and we're going to put a space in there. And I think it's, let me Google it on my other computer. It's 5,000. No, 5 million. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that looks right. So that works out to be 5 meg, I believe. Ooh, I didn't put another slash in. And it's just a reasonable file limit at the minute. You could bump it up, you could put it down, you could turn it off. It's all up to you. This project is designed for you to customize it as you go through with me, sort of thing. Obviously, as we go further on, it will get more advanced and more advanced and more advanced, and it will start becoming more complicated, but not necessarily any harder to follow. Right, so we need to create a new unit, and this is going to hold our scan manager. So we're going to call it scan manager. We're going to save it. We're just going to dump it in the directory. We're going to call it scan manager. Like scanner manager, because I want to use that name later. And there you go. We've got a new form. Ooh, pardon. So we're going to come up to the top, and we need to declare some other ones we want to use. We want to use Windows. We're going to probably use systutils, probably classes, and we're going to have to use scan engine because we're going to need the functions out of that in a minute. Right. And here's where we're going to declare our thread. Now, why are we threading it? We're threading it because I taught myself to remember it as, if you put a load of instructions and you took a piece of thread and you threaded it through them, you have to wait for the instruction to be finished before your instruction will continue. Now this is why our scan engine starts to freeze, because our thread that everything's running in, it can't update the graphics, so the bit that the user sees, at the same time as trying to run the instructions that is being run in the background. So I'm just setting out here a basic thread. Now we might come back in a later date and change this around, and I probably will. Yeah, we probably will. And it is part of the development, and it is something that you're going to want to do. So we're now going to declare a couple of variables in here. Now these are needed, pretty much. Why is this going mental still? Have I spelled execute wrong? No. Procedure override. No. Procedural. No. Execute and override. No. What have I done wrong? That's what I've done wrong. See, not everyone's perfect. So we're going to want our scan path. This is going to automatically add the end for us. As this is going to scan both files and directories, we need to know if we want to scan the subdirectory. So we're going to call that Boolean, yes or no. And then, is it a folder? Is a good one. So if it's a folder, we want to know, because we want to either use scan folder or we want to use scan file. Now we're going to leave this. Do I want? Yes. Right, so we're going to add another variable here whilst we're here. This is something that's just popped to mind. We're going to add a Boolean called is scanner running. This is important. I'm going to give it a default value of false. This will be important. You don't want too many threads scanning the same folders. You'll start getting every other one turn up with cannot open file, and yeah, it kind of takes the point out of scanning the directory if you're already scanning the directory. Right, so we're going to move back into our old scan engine, which is going to stay there. We're going to continue using it, and we're going to need to add some more functions to it. These functions are pretty well necessary. So we're going to start with the word function, and can we open file? Now, this is just going to be a basic function, and it's just going to check if we can open the actual file. So we're going to call it we're going to put a variable in here of object path, and that's just going to be a string, and we need it to return a Boolean. So can we open it, yes or no? Now, why are we adding this? We're adding this so that later on, when we add reports, we have some idea of whether we are going to, whether the file's been opened or not. The more complex this gets, the more some of the earlier functions will be used to display information that might be useful to you. If you don't open any files, probably means you're not running with any permissions, and it will be, it's very, very useful for you later on. So we're going to start off by declaring a file stream, or T file stream, and we're just going to use this to basically open the file. Now, we're going to set the result as false by default. So, if it doesn't open, no big loss. Or it is a big loss, and, if this continues to a point at which it gets complicated, and by complicated I mean like really complicated, where we start creating drivers for it and other things like that, we will then at that point address, depending on how many, obviously I'm not going to continue this if there's not a need for it. So if it continues to get low feedback, it might come down to do I think that there's a point in continuing it. But at the minute, it seems to be getting all right views for something that I, have just done off the cuff. So So if it returns 0, we want to return the result false. So if we have no bytes inside of our T file stream, either the file has nothing in it, or we've been unable to load the file. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add again an if statement, and we're going to do the size, and if it works out greater than 0, then we've opened the file. There's something in here. True. So this is our basic check if we can open the file. And yeah, for the better part, it will probably work all right for now. And yeah, I never make these functions before, and we just see if they work afterwards, which is part and parcel of coding. It never goes smoothly, and things always go wrong and things along them lines. So you just need to stick at it. And right, so this function is going to be very much similar to the last function we've just written. So we're going to be lazy. We're just going to copy it, and then we're just going to edit out the pieces we don't want anymore. So in this one, we're just going to cut out the 0, and we're going to stick file limit here, which is what we declared here. So we're going to copy our constant name and just paste it there. And that way we now know if we call this function and we get true, that the file is bigger than what we wanted. There is a spelling mistake right there. Don't know how I managed that. Yeah, so that we now know that the file was too big, and that's important to us, because when you start scanning things like archives, and we'll be adding things like zip support, and we'll probably be adding RAR support if I can. The determining the file size will start becoming very integral. Right, so we're going to copy this function here, our scan folder function, and we're going to modify it. Now we're going to modify this because we need to count all the files that are being scanned to make our progress bar work. So this needs to have an integer as its return value, and we need to change this from procedure to a function. Functions return values, procedures just do something. Down here where we put scan folder, we need to change that to count all files. Right, we need to cut out here and just put in increase the result. Down here we need to put the result is equal to the result plus what it returns from this. Because we call the function again if there's another folder, we need to add all the values together to get our total number of files. So now we've done that, nice and easy, we need to copy all of that and declare it at the top. Right there. Right, so we now have all of our functions, I think. Other than our thread. Right, now right, so I played around with the scan engine the other day, and I fixed a few issues, and we'll do them in a minute. Right, so we're going to go and we're going to start our threading. Now our thread is so that we can have the scanner running independent of the graphic interface. And like I said earlier, it's mainly just to improve the performance. Right, so we're going to declare main form in the uses inside here. Then we're going to call procedure and tscan manager dot execute. So this bit identifies that we are inside of this thread, that we want to be inside of a thread of this right here. And we're going to start off by checking if the scanner is running. If is scanner running, then we want to do something. So if the scanner is running, we want to do we can't do a message box from here. Unfortunately, no, we can do a message box from here. We can't do a show message from here. Because we're in a unit and not in a form, we don't have the right declares. You could add them, but you know, it's just easier just to put a message box in here. So a message box wants a few variables. We're just going to stick 0 in the front. We're going to fill these in with spaces of strings, and we're just going to stick an exit there. So if you hover over this, if Delphi wants to work today, it doesn't. Right, the first one is the message. So scanner is already running. Now this one here is the title, so we're going to call that scan manager. Identifies where it's calling from, so it's a message from the scan manager thread saying that the scanner is already running. Then what we need to do is we need to come down here and we're going to do another if function. If not, is scanner running. So simply this checks if it is, this checks if it's not. We're going to call begin. And now here's where it starts getting a lot of, you know, we have to think about what we're doing. So first we need to check if it's a folder. Is folder. So if it's a folder, we don't want to call scan file, do we? We want to call scan folder. Now we're going to update some of the things whilst we're here. So we're going to call form1, and we're going to change. We're going to call scan state. Is it scan state? Scanner state. Dot caption, and we're going to start adding in some more states. Now, because this is going to have to count the files, and I don't know how many files you're counting, so we're going to put getting information as the caption. And then we're going to call update to update the graphic interface. And before everyone slams me in the comment section, I know you're supposed to use synchronize to go across threads. I know. This is simpler. It's easier. It works for the most part of it. So we're going to have to go back to our scan engine. We're going to have to add a few variables up here. And we're adding variables because we're now going to collect some more information. And this information obviously is getting displayed on the form. So we already have our infected count. We want failed to open. Does exactly what it says on the tin. Right, and what we're going to do is whilst we're here, we're going to line these up. We are going to set a default of 0. And this default only exists, I believe, when it started. Like I said in the other episode, I have taught myself to code, and hence some of this I don't know. Right, so file is too big. That's our file limit. Is the file too big? If so, we don't want to open it. So total number of files is going to be our return value that we're going to store so that our progress bar goes across. We need to know the total number for then it to work out where to put the progress, where to put the green bit that goes across the progress. Now we need the current item. So we want the current object. This is going to be the file you are scanning currently. So previous version of this, you couldn't see what it was scanning, you couldn't see whether it was scanning, sort of thing. Now we're going to do the number of files files scanned. This is going to be so that you can see how many it's got left, and so that our progress bar goes along, which is nice. Right, so now we have our nice variables here. We're going to come back to our scan manager, and we're going to first we need to check how many files are there. So total number of files is going to hold the value returned by count all files. Now here's where our variables we declared earlier come in useful. So the object path goes in the first section, and then we want our mask, and we're scanning everything at the minute. And you know, later on we could add a drop down menu so you can change that, or you guys can add a drop down menu and reply video it to me. And you know, I might add it to the project. This is you know, a community project. So we need now to set the length of our progress bar. So we've just named it progress bar 1. So we're going to change that because we need it. Scan progress bar. Now we're going to come back to here and we're going to do form1.scan pro. Why is it not coming up? It is named that. Dot, and then I believe it's the max is equal to the total number of files. Where have I put a spelling mistake in that? File. Now, someone out there is going to be thinking, why do I not just pipe this straight into that? Well, because we want to know how many total files are for one of our other labels, so we need to store it. We need to ensure that we keep hold of it. It's going to be useful, and this is taking a long while. Right, so now we're going to add some more captions, and I'm going to be lazy and save time because this is taking longer than I assumed. And cut that out, and now put scanning as our caption. And now we're going to call scan folder. And we're going to chuck the same variables in we had here, so we're just going to copy them. Once again, I'm doing this just to save time. And now we can copy these again. Chuck that down there. And we're going to put finished. Unfortunately, I don't think people would like to carry on watching a video that's too long. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and speed up slightly, and hopefully this doesn't leave people stuck behind. Right, so we're doing the same thing in the second function, except for we're taking out scan folder and putting in scan file. The difference is we can cut this out and stick it as 1, or actually no, we're just going to stick this as 1. Right, you're scanning a file, there's only going to ever be 1. We can take this out and put scan file, and then just put object path in there. Right, so what I've done is we know that the max number of files when you're scanning a file is 1. You don't need to check how many there are. Hence, this probably will never get shown. If anything, for 100th of a second or something stupid. Right, so that is everything done this side, is it not? Yes. And no, it is not. We've missed something out. So what we need to do is scanner running equals true. And at the other end is scanner running equals false again. Is running, isn't running. Very simple. As you can see, I slow my typing down significantly for the videos, and that's probably why I make so many spelling mistakes whilst I'm doing this, because I have to overthink it. Right, so now we know when the scanner is running and when it's not running. Lovely. We're going to come back to our scan engine and we're going to do a couple of fixes here. Like I said, I've been playing around with this slightly, and we're going to need to add some functions to it anyway, and I just thought I would fix a few issues that will arise. So straight off the cuff, here we're going to take this out. We're going to cut that out because it will keep saying clean. I'm going to do if infected count equals 0, then it's that. And then we're going to do if infected, preferably not in the same line, infected count is anything other than 0, then equals infected. Very simple. It just saves a lot of faffing around later on. Right, so next we're going to come down here, and most of the things we're going to be adding here are variables. They're variables that are being displayed. So we need to do the number of files scanned. So we're checking before this if there is a file at the other end, which really we should do doing up here. So we're going to move that quickly. Right, so we're checking if the variable we're passing has anything in it, which is good because then the functions after it can use it. MD5, things like that, we'll do them before that. Yeah. Right, so now we're going to call a few things. We're going to have to set the variables on the home page. So form1.current object display is caption is equal to file path. This is going to take the file path that we're scanning, if there is one, dump it onto the home page. So we're just going to call update for that. Display.update. Right, the next one we're going to do is the display that displays both the total count and the single count, the current count. So this was called current count display dot caption, and this is going to be slightly long, so we're going to do int because it's an integer number to string. I'm going to put the value number of files scanned. Is it that? What did we name it? Oh, files scanned. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add our slash so you can tell them apart. Then another int to string. You can, I believe, jump it down onto the next line without it erroring. Another int to string and a total file count. What did we name that? Total number of files. Total of file. Right, so this is going to display on our home page, and we're just going to chuck in an update after there to ensure that it updates the graphic interface. Right, so this is going to display a current object. This is going to display how many files were scanned versus how many are left. And now we're going to need to do our progress bar. So scan progress bar, and we're going to have to set the position. Now the position is how far it is along the bar, so we're going to do the number of files scanned as the position. Now we need to call update. Hopefully I'm not going too fast for you guys, but do feel free to pause the video if you need to. And the code will be released probably, I don't know, I have to change the last one as well. Right, so that does that. Now we're going to check if the file can be opened. So if not, we open file. We're going to give it our file path. Then we want it to begin a function. And what we want to do is we want to increase failed to open. And then what we want to do is we want to exit this function. There is no point in continuing. If you can't open the file, you have nothing to scan. You are looping for no reason. So next, if is file too big, don't want the end, and we put the file path in again, similar to the one above it, actually identical, but file too big. So that'll increase our file too big. We want to exit once again. No point in scanning something that's too big. Right, so we're going to scroll down. I don't think there was any other changes that were pointed out to me. Yes, there was. This needs to go. And clean up the end. Yep. Right. So now all the way back to the middle. Everything in here was fine, was it not? Yep, we set the net max, set the current, set the position, we have a file limit. Yes. Right, so we're now going to gut the scan button. And the first thing we need to do is we need to come up here and we need to declare the fact that we want to use Scanner Manager. This is very important. You don't declare it, you're never going to be able to use it. It will just complain all day. So we're going to copy this because that is the function we want to use, or that's the thread we want to use. So we're going to do this and then we're going to do this. And someone's going to be complaining in the background, I can already tell, going, why has he done that for? We're just going to take the T off. And see, we can use it as a variable. So we're going to come all the way down to here. And we don't need any of this anymore. Literally, we don't need any of this gutting in the middle. Alright, so we're going to start off with scan file. So I'm going to press paste again, take the end off. I'm going to do equals paste.create. I'm going to give it true. Now this is important. We are halting the thread right there. When we create a thread, you have the option to suspend the thread. We are suspending the thread because we want to set variables. So the first one we're going to set is the object path, which is going to be our scan path edit text, which has been with us from the start. And then we want to do is we want to set the other variables. So this is file. So are we scanning subdirectories? False. And then once again, scan manager. And is it a folder? Once again, it's false. We're scanning a file, it's not a folder. Right. So that's our scan file done. Oh, no it isn't. We need to call start. Because we suspended it, up here with the create, which if I hover over it should say, so it should give you the, nope. But anyway, when we put true, it was asking us whether we wanted to create the thread suspended. We did so. So now we're going to copy this. A lot of copying in this one. I'm going to copy this to save time, and we're going to dump it in here. And now what we're going to do is we are going to edit these two. We're going to put true. Scan for subdirectories and scan folders. So I've lost my train of thought there. Yep. So yeah, we're just going to change these two to true. We want to scan subdirectories, and it is a folder we're scanning. So if everything's gone correctly, and I mean everything, we should now be able to scan folders in a thread. We have an error somewhere. We've put an increase and not put anything in it. Right. Yep. Right, so it needs to be before this one. Right, what we forgot to do is we forgot to put the increase current number of files scanned. And someone is just pointing something out to me over my shoulder. So what was it? Right. What we need to do is come here, right here. I'm going to put takeaway 1. I'm going to put takeaway 1 for a good reason. Because when the scanner reaches the end, it's going to increase it past 1. It's going to be 1 too many. It starts at 0, and it's going to be too many. Right, so it's loaded fine. Database is loaded. Everything seems correct. So let's grab our YouTube folder. We know we have 2 files in there that should get detected or will get detected. And it's just gone from start to finish. How peculiar. Right, I'm going to pause the video right now, and I'm going to figure out where I've gone wrong, because a lot of time is wasted debugging. Right, so after a little bit of debugging, I've moved the wrong thing. So, very simple mistake, but has cost me quite a bit. What I meant to move was this. If the file path equals our file, exit. What I actually moved was if the file signature equals nothing, exit. Because I've moved it above get file signature, which is a pain in my ass. Right, so now it should scan. So let's give it a whirl. Right, we'll select our YouTube folder again, and this time it should do something other than, I've left my halts in. And it does, but the progress bar is not going along because there's a massive number the other end. Right, I know where I've gone wrong. This is a very easy fix. This is why you set a default value. Right, so our scan folder function here, we forgot to set the result at the start to 0. Very simple, very easy mistake. Right, so now we should run it and the progress bar goes across as well. And select our YouTube folder once again. Oh, don't freeze on me now. I don't know why it's doing this. It's been doing this a few times now. If you click slightly too early in the debug, it just freezes. It might be because I'm recording it at the same time. Right. Be patient this time. Has it done everything it wants to? Yes. Right, so we've got our YouTube, and now our progress bar should go across, and it does. And we can now see the files we're scanning, so all of the source code from the previous versions. And we have our 2 infected files, and it now says finished. So I would call that a great success, and it shouldn't have been too long a video. So as you guys can tell, it's slowly getting more complicated. I think it's better that we do it this way, rather than I just build something and give the source code out. And yeah, if I built it and just gave the source code out, I have a funny feeling it would just be abused, and I'd rather that people understand what the code does, and not just copy and paste large segments of code. But yeah, as you can see, it's getting better. In the next video, I might edit some of these variables here so that they actually disappear. So it actually says scan finished, and we might do reports next. It's a bit of a debate. I'd like to know what you guys think. One of the things that one of the guys over at Tech Antivirus suggested was building an API for a DLL and giving it out with the YouTube tutorial, allowing you to massively increase your detection rate straight off the cuff. But I don't know whether people would enjoy that or not. So I'd like some comments. You know, smash the like button as well. We're trying to get this channel grown and get people into coding again, and more interested in the security side of it. And I personally prefer the offensive side of it, but that's dicing with the law in the UK, based on some of the other laws that have recently come out. So we'll stick to the defensive side until I've had a chance to get clarified on exactly what I can and can't show. So I hope you guys enjoy.